We're recording. I'm going to put my official Zoom outfit on. I'm freezing today, but here we go. All right. Now nobody knows what season it is here.
But just like looking at these athletes and how their body gets trained in that glycogen cycle, but glyphosate, the herbicide, actually breaks this really important enzyme. It's called PEPCK, I think, or I'd have to look it up again, but which is the enzyme that converts the glycogen through the gluconeogenesis pathway and delivers it into the bloodstream. And glyphosate breaks that. So what happens is your body knows, okay, like I'm not able to deliver this glucose like I need. I've got to keep a higher level of glucose on board so that I don't go diabetic coma or something. So, there is I think with endurance athletes in particular, there can be issues related to that long-term training, because the other thing is the science is showing that anytime you do that endurance training, it causes the gut to be leaky and that endotoxin to cross the barrier and create inflammation. And so that you get this repeated cycle if you're never going through an extended rest period to allow the body to rest. So,
yeah. In my own brief athletic career, I never knew if I was considered an endurance athlete, or, our events were so short, usually sub 1 hour, that we all trained as if we're going to the Tour de France, but the truth was our events were really short, and it was, bursts of anaerobic activity, and then, zone 2. And it was, I think the fun part of it was that sort of cat and mouse, more the strategy and more the, I don't know, not that straight out, endurance effort. It was a little more dynamic.
Yeah, I had a call, maybe a month ago with a customer from Canada who was a biathlete, and she was a Olympic biathlete, and she was talking about the food that they gave them and how they were trained in this whole carb cycle that she's trying to break this pattern that's been established in her body through what they trained her to do to be a biathlete. So I think there's that goes all the way down even to the little kids. So we have friends at the Cleveland Clinic. One had twin boys who started having some major crashes, and all these teams are drinking Gatorade. It's all this fructose, and basically they ended up having, I forget exactly the name of it, but when you have this fructose intolerance and you can't process fructose, so they figured that out. But so many of the, you go to all my kids are grown now, and I wish I knew back then what I know now, but I was, not a huge fan of sugar ever, but you go and you're in charge of the snacks for the game, and the people are bringing, fruit roll-ups and, juice box. And, that's not really very healthy.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. We all kind of came up in that same, we've all been part of the same era, previous era, I guess, of low fat, high carb, high sugar, fat free. This topic just came up actually in my, I had a coaching session this morning, and my client asked me, what can I do? We're talking about 2024. We've got this shiny new year ahead of us. What can I do to elevate my health? She's already doing, let me just lay this out. She's doing everything that we know. She's got a very good, strong microbiome, and her metabolism is A plus. And but she's in her later 60s, and she's like, okay, well, what can I do now uh, for excellent health? And we always talk about sleep, and we talk about detox and EMFs and kind of these other things. But it did get me thinking, to her point of, what do we do with those 50 years of, like you said, we didn't know any better. The damage that we did cause, so yeah, now we're doing great. We've improved things, but what do we do about those 50 years of damaging our body with foods? Can we do anything? And should
Well,
we?
I think that's what's so amazing about the human system is it is resilient. And it's amazingly resilient if we look at how much change in our lifetime in the number of chemicals that we're exposed to, and changes in the way food is processed, cooked, like everything about the food supply in the last 50 years, maybe not everything, but a lot of the major components of the food supply have changed. I think when you start to really look at it, and you kind of go, oh, look at what we're eating. And then you go, I can't believe we're not all dead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say, we are resilient. And you see that in the people who follow Dr. Davis's program, and I see that in people who take Sugar Shift and come back to me and say, like, this has changed my life. So actually, that's probably a pretty good lead in to
Yeah.
the 2024 Sugar Shift Challenge. This will be our third year, and we are really excited this year to be adding a coaching opportunity to it. I'm joined today by Jennifer Baines. Jennifer has done coaching. She does coaching with the Infinite Health Group, coaching in her own practice. She is a world-class competitive cyclist athlete who came to nutrition through her own discovery of how to optimize her performance and be a better athlete. And I met Jen through Dr. Davis and his group, and through our previous Sugar Shift challenges, and was really impressed with all of the insights that she brought to our group meetings, and the knowledge that she had, and that ability to really help people refine things at a finer level individually. So in our Sugar Shift challenge, we come together as a group, and we have our group calls, and we talk about general topics, and we will have speakers from time to time. It's a great way to share and support each other, and kind of boost our progress along the way. But we really thought it would be nice this year to add a VIP option for those people who would like to have individual one-on-one coaching for even greater. So maybe Jen, just take a minute and tell people a little more about yourself and what we're offering in the VIP coaching package.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Martha. I'm just so honored to be here, and I'm always honored to work with people one-on-one. I've been a nutrition coach since 2015, and there's just nothing better for me to guide people and help them meet their goals, meet people where they are. And for so many of us, I think the number's around 80%, and stop me if that's different, Martha, but 80% of chronic illness is due to metabolism, dysbiosis, and then metabolic syndrome. So between the two of those, we've got 80% of chronic illness. And those are two areas where people can completely take matters into their own hands and fix those problems. Martha, I think I've lost you. Can you hear me? Now you're back.
I can. I
Okay.
froze for a minute, but I think the video will be fun with
Oh,
you.
okay.
So,
Okay, sorry. I don't know if you want to go back or redo
yeah,
or
I mean,
how do you want to.
that can be edited, I think. It's
Okay,
fine.
great. So yeah, I think that there's so much room for self-empowerment here. We have tools to fix metabolic syndrome. We have tools to reverse type 2 diabetes, fatty liver. Um, and now we have these amazing probiotics that help us with gut dysbiosis, with SIBO, and now with blood sugar management. Um, I'm such a big fan of the sugar shift because I've used it and I've seen my own data. Um, and I just want to share all of that with my nutrition clients. So now we've got this wonderful challenge for 2024, and we're breaking it up into sort of two areas. We have our big challenge group. We're going to expect a lot of repeat challenge participants. And so whether you've been taking Sugar Shift or you're new to Sugar Shift, we welcome you into that group. And that group is going to be really fun. We've got 2 calls per month with Martha and with myself and perhaps some guest speakers. Um, and then we've decided to add a VIP group to that. And that is going to be a lot more in-depth, one-on-one, a lot of accountability, everything that I offer as a nutrition coach, but then even more so. So I'm going to, be helping you track your changes. We're going to be just taking a magnifying glasses to the areas of your life that you need help with to up level whatever aspects of your health that you need. So this truly is a customized one-on-one program.
And I think, Jen and I were talking earlier this week about why many people are looking for that additional support. We find that a lot of our customers, I think a lot of people who come to Dr. Davis find the same thing, is that you've started to educate yourself because you've been looking for answers that you're not getting in the sort of conventional path to your health. And so we do find that people who come here are looking for a little bit more, and they have a little bit more knowledge. So what we wanted to do was offer that additional support, because maybe you need somebody to help you troubleshoot, or even look sort of back through the life story to figure out root cause. I have a background and training in something called the root cause protocol. I'm an RCPC, and part of what we do is look at your life story stress pattern and where those stressors may have impacted your health. And I like to take that lens and overlay it with the microbiome and look at how stressors impact the gut and how that ultimately kind of cascades down into chronic health problems. My story actually came from my mother. When I was very young, my mother went on a trip to a family wedding in Mexico, and she got the turista, is what it was called back then. But she came back and her gut never really recovered. And so she had what would have been, it wasn't called IBD back then, but she had IBD, lots of gut issues, problem being able to go anywhere, do anything, always concerned about the bathroom. And that went on to develop into lymphoma, MS, thyroid cancer, breast cancer. So there's this systemic cascade. So, I think people may be coming here looking at sugar, and sugar is a driver of a lot of things that go on in the gut, but it's often a little more complicated than just the sugar. And so I think, for those of you who really want to go to the next level, I think this coaching could really be a benefit to you in terms of troubleshooting and looking at those one-on-one factors, sugar and beyond, that could be impacting your health.
Yeah, it's so fun to be on around this cutting edge knowledge of health right now. The microbiome is, I think, the most exciting place to be in nutrition and health. But that this is the biggest benefit of one-on-one coaching. There are tons of coaches out there, but we have access to these great minds that are right on that bleeding edge. Martha Carlin, your team of scientists, Dr. Davis and his team, and there's just nothing like it. No one's doing this, and so that to me is one of the biggest benefits here. I get to be a conduit and help my clients implement some of these newer ideas into their own lives, and the things we learn, and sometimes we learn new things on a weekly basis, and that to me, it just lights me up and it feeds my soul. And um, so if
Well, I think it's exciting too. Like one of the most fulfilling things for me is when I hear from a customer who has sort of taken the challenge, whether that's being a part of this actual challenge, which we've had many people do in the past, or somebody who just commits and comes on board taking Sugar Shift and, writes me and says, this has changed my life. And, people can see that in a lot of the reviews, what a difference it has made for people. But that can really be the catalyst of taking this one small thing that has a big impact and enables you to have better willpower and ability to take the next bigger step into something even more focused, like the one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, and I just, as you were saying that, I was thinking that too, and how something so simple to us anyway of managing your blood sugar opens the door to all kinds of other areas in your life as well. Um, I've worked with people who they manage their blood sugar and now suddenly they have more energy and they're doing a new activity with their daughter, or it's just the effect just ripples out into other areas of people's lives, and that's so satisfying as well.
So with that, we just want to invite you to come on board. We're glad you're here for the challenge, but also consider whether you might be someone who would benefit from the VIP package and getting a little more one-on-one attention. That's
That's great.
The sales pitch.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can keep doing this. If your team doesn't like what we've come up with here, we can jump on
we
these
can do
kinds of
another one.
calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think they can probably work with this and work with some of sometimes I think it's just good to sit and have a discussion about
Yeah.
because they can use snippets of, like, I don't know, maybe just give me an example of when you onboard somebody for coaching.
Mhm.
What does that process look like?
Typically, I just simply ask them in an email, what are your top 3 goals? And that just gives me, kind of a warning of what's coming. And then when I meet with them for the first time, suddenly, now I should back up, that's how I do it with my Infinite Health coaching clients. Uh, I have a little bit more of an in-depth process with my in-person, I work with the clinic here locally. And so that's a little bit different and a little more in-depth because I want to know how they eat. I want them to give me just a snapshot of what's your diet like now? What was your diet like when you were growing up? Um, what are some of the other questions? I asked them about their supplements, medications, what other holistic practitioners have you worked with? So I do get a little bit more of a background. I don't do that with Infinite Health because sometimes I only meet with them once or twice, and
Mm.
it's really just kind of
It's not
just.
an ongoing.
Mhm.
So I've had this idea um, to build this app. I don't know if I've ever shown you the life health timeline, but
Oh,
we have a prototype of this, and it's sort of that tell your life story in a picture where
okay.
you put a timeline and you talk about, I was born, was it, natural or cesarean, growing up, I ate this kind of food, or I had allergies, or, I had all the standard vaccines, or I was
Mhm.
never vaccinated, or,
Mhm.
um, I had these major illnesses. I always had strep throat, or every year I got
Mhm.
such and such, sort of spotting those things about what's going on in your immune system along the way. And that we did it
Mhm.
originally for John to show it as a prototype. And in just asking him questions to help build that timeline,
Yeah.
I learned so much about him. I started to ask
Oh,
those same
yeah.
questions of people who had Parkinson's. And I learned just from talking to people how many people had grown up on farms where the crop duster was flying
Oh,
over them
yeah.
as little kids, or they were playing in the puddles where the film from the chemicals and the crop dusting was, in the water on the farm, or
Yeah.
in the creeks and that kind of. So, you start to kind of see that picture of environmental stressors and early life stressors, and you know when you went to college, were you a partier, or were you a
Mhm.
teetotaler, or, you know, bachelors, men, you know, sorry to say, a lot of them are not cooks, and they're,
Mhm.
eating something out
It's
of a,
true.
macaroni and cheese box over and over and over again, and a
Yeah.
jar of spaghetti sauce and spaghetti. And, um, I laid those pieces out, and you can start to see like what you're doing to damage the terrain of your internal ecosystem. And you we see those sometimes, they come out in disease pathologies, but there's also a lot of us who look like we're fine maybe.
Mhm.
um, but when you start to map out that timeline, and you can say, oh, well, this, I know how this impacts the microbiome, and I know how this it's it is impacting your internal ecosystem and damaging your resilience. And so
Yeah.
I have this idea that I want to develop an app that would enable people to answer the questions
Mhm.
and build this one-page picture that is your timeline, and it has color coded for the different kinds of stressors and things, and
Yeah.
you can pop stuff up. But right now
That's
I don't
It's
have the
so
resources to
powerful.
do that.
That's so
But
beautiful. No, I love it. Even as an exercise, even if it weren't an app, but just an exercise, there's so much power in that timeline. Um, I've done this before, not exactly how you described it, but in the area of grief, this is a tool in managing very stressful situations. I did this going through a divorce, and um, how we internalize grief, how we handle it really is connected to our previous experiences with grief. And um, you know, the best way, or at least the way that I was coached to do this, was to literally make a grief timeline of your life. And
oh, that would be another interesting overlay to do. In fact, that
yeah,
might be that might be an interesting group exercise we could do over the course of the Sugar Shift challenges to help people build their timeline and draw their
yeah,
picture. I mean,
Yeah.
the idea originally came to me because, if you think about how the medical system works today, you go to see a doctor, they don't know you, they have, maybe 7 to 10 minutes to see you. But when I was growing up, like my doctor had been my parents' doctor or was
Oh,
my
yeah.
parents' friends. Like they
Okay. They knew
knew
the timeline.
they
They,
knew the timeline.
yeah.
They were from your hometown. They knew the people
Mm.
in your orbit, so they knew what your social structure was. They knew, to some degree what, how well fed you were,
Hmm.
just based on knowing the community. And
Yeah.
um they knew your family history, like what your grandparents had died of. And now you
Yeah.
fill out these forms, but I mean, let's face
Yeah.
it, the doctor doesn't have time to read that form. And so this concept was really, if your life, you can paint your picture on a timeline on one page. And if you could
Hmm.
give that to a doctor and they could see it,
Yeah.
and the little flags would pop up and say, hey, alarm, these are signs of immune dysregulation or,
Yeah. Yeah.
underlying. So
I
that's
think,
one of the long-term goals.
yeah, I think people are hungry for that too. I see it at, just in my work at the clinic. Um, we ask for new patients to give us some labs if they've got some recent labs. We say recent labs and they give us 10 years of labs. And we get these, 200-page PDFs. Um, but I think part of that is this desire to be seen, to like,
Right.
here's my story. They don't, mean any, harm to us having to look at it,
Because
but
your story, that is part of your story. And I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
like really the importance of overlaying grief. I mean, I did
Hmm.
have some grief events, but I didn't have that as a specific color code category because
Hmm.
those kinds of stressors deplete the body of minerals, have all kinds of impacts that people don't realize, change the brain chemistry, and the brain chemistry changes the gut chemistry, and then that changes the microbiome, and you get this whole cycle of gut brain stuff going on. So
I think there's a lot more to learn in that area. As I work with, more and more complex cases, I do see these huge, just terrible life experiences that are nothing but, grief filled, and the healing that, people go through. But, what is the body holding on to really? I know the microbiome is so quickly adaptable, but are there other things elsewhere affecting microbiome that are related to these grief events? Um, I speculate just because, there's so many people in the infinite health realm that are doing everything right. And yet we're,
still struggling. Yeah,
yeah,
still struggling. And I think there's a lot of factors to that too, just environmental factors that we can't control,
yep.
that a lot of people are not as aware of. I mean, I'm really surprised at the people when I say something about glyphosate who
Mhm.
don't know what glyphosate is. And, but I've been banging that drum for 20 years, but it's
Yeah.
not widely known how widespread
Mm.
it is and how it impacts your health, and how that sort of spreads. So I think as a
Yeah.
part of this whole journey in this sugar shift challenge, um, maybe we do look at how this sugar shift challenge is part of painting the picture of your story. And we're going to help you do that, and um as a part of the journey together, and also collectively, we're
Yeah.
not alone in this. We're here to help each other be successful, kind of get to the root cause of our problems, and have a brighter future.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all are on board with that. We're all hungry for that.
So it's going to be an exciting year, I think. And I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to this year's challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, me too. Um, I have so many questions for you off the record, Martha.
Sure.
Um,
You
I,
know,
I don't know if you want to stop recording or just keep recording and
I mean,
just go for it.
you can keep recording. That's
I'll
fine.
keep recording. Okay. Can I just throw some questions at you?
Yes, I do
Uh,
have a call in 10 minutes. So
oh, okay. Okay.
rapid fire. Okay.
Well, one of my biggest questions, just related to the challenge too, is I was listening to that founder of Pendulum. I think everyone's listening to this right now with Peter Attia.
Colleen. Yeah, Colleen. I haven't listened to it yet, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's long. It's taken me some days in the car to get through it. But one of the things she says is that it's only Pendulum who is able to say that their product lowers HbA1c. Is that true? Or I as a coach have to worry about making claims that we can't make? Um,
Okay. Well, our product, we have a clinical trial
mhm,
that lowers HbA1c,
mhm,
but she may be saying that because she filed as a medical food.
mm,
Um, and the way that they went about their filing, we don't advertise it because the FDA can come after you, but we have a clinical trial to support it.
mhm.
But our attorneys recommend that we do not openly advertise that.
Okay.
So, but in terms of talking to people, coaching and all of that, I
Yeah.
mean, we have the clinical evidence
Yeah.
uh, to show that.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Like
I just
70% of the people in the clinical trial had reduced HbA1c after 3 months, and 90% of them after 6 months. Well, we only kept 10 people on for the 6 months, so that was a smaller group. The first group was 30 people,
mhm.
and 70% of those had a drop in HbA1c in the first 90 days. And then we unblinded the study at the end, kept 10 people on, and those 10 people had 90% of them had a drop in HbA1c.
Yeah, that's really cool. I That seems like that would check that box with not just the FDA, but the FTC from a supplement standpoint.
Well,
Um,
I do talk about it on podcasts, but I
mhm.
don't directly advertise about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
and
Well, I just
you
wanted to,
know, and the other thing I will say, so 70% dropped HbA1c in the first 90 days. We also had the control group was on the fiber. Some of them also
okay.
dropped their HbA1c, but the results overall um, at the 6 month point were dramatically different between sugar shift and the control. And
Hmm.
the trend lines were in opposite directions in the first 3 months. So the controls that were just on the fiber were trending upward in terms of blood glucose,
Okay. Yeah.
and the sugar shift was trending down.
Training. It's so cool. So cool. And I have to say, admittedly, I have played around with um, the pendulum metabolic product. It does not do what sugar shift does for me. Um, the sugar shift, I mean, really, Martha, it's incredible. Like it's 10 points almost immediately for me.
Well, it's interesting because I had a call, not a call, I had an email back and forth. We have a customer, a practitioner in Israel
Mhm.
who basically has the product brought to her because we can't ship into Israel. And she is part of a group of doctors and healthcare practitioners who are treating people with long COVID
Mhm.
and vaccine injury.
Mhm.
And their primary protocol for that treatment is sugar shift
Wow.
Esiac-T, lumbrokinase,
Yeah.
and there's one other product. But
You have to deal with blood sugar with post-COVID. We do a lot of that in the clinic, but we also medical, the use of medical ozone is part of it. I think I've told you before, we do a lot with that.
right.
But
Well, and I think the other thing like that pendulum doesn't do that we're do, we have strains in there that are detoxifying. We have the strain that
yeah,
breaks down and
that's
removes
right.
glyphosate. We have strains that are removing heavy metals like aluminum and iron.
Is that the
Or
plantarum?
recycling the iron, or doing the cycling of iron and copper and other minerals and sequestering some of those heavy metals. So the plantarum does get
Amazing.
rid of aluminum.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So that's so cool. It's just so cool. I want to be mindful of your time for your next meeting. But okay, so that was my number one question. And it sounds like we can freely talk about what,
Yeah.
sugar shift, what we
We
all
have
know it
5 more
does
minutes
do.
if you have another question.
Okay, well, no, I guess my other questions are, don't need to be recorded at all, but more along the lines of structuring this. You and I haven't talked about compensation at all for the challenge group work. And then for the VIP group, when I get coaching interest, I mean, that I would like that to be collaborative. I I don't
I
view
mean,
this as you're
I
just
mean, I
giving
can
me,
come in and help with that. But
yeah.
I mean, the money is yours.
Well, I feel like there should be a split of some sort because I think that's part of what we're offering them is a deeper um, level of support. Um, I don't know. I'm so used to working with practitioners. Like I'm really not a lone, you know,
Right.
coach out there. A lot of coaches are, but so under the umbrella of Golden Ray, the
Right.
medical center, I've got Dr. Reynolds. With Infinite Health, I've got Bill. Um, I I I love
Well,
the
I mean,
idea of
we can sort of pitch it as, I mean, because I am an RCPC, I don't do the coaching with it, but that is the deeper minerals aspect of things. Um,
but if we
so,
and I don't know how many, maybe we only get one person. That's okay.
right,
We'll get three. I'd like to, three is like I want to have three people do this. Um,
right.
but in taking that deeper dive with them, what and I know how to do that on many levels, but do we, want to offer them um, a microbiome analysis? Like if they go get a stool test, will you
I
be
mean,
able to
I
look
can
at it
certainly,
or
yeah, I can look at that with them.
and not necessarily be one-on-one with them? I mean, this could all be
I mean, I
behind the
did that last
scenes.
year for anybody who did the test, but we didn't get very many
Mhm.
people who did the test.
Mhm.
Uh,
Is that the
and I,
one you still
that,
recommend, by the way?
well, I mean, that one or the one from Microbiome Labs, but frankly, they're not very actionable.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of people get the one from Genova Diagnostics, and
Mhm.
that one's probably not broad enough, but it does have some actionable things in it.
Is that the GI map?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I think we do at the clinic.
So, and then, I mean, I've got some just like basic questionnaires from the RCPC stuff too.
Mhm.
So we could look at that if you want to send me some times next week and we can talk in a little bit more detail about that.
Can you hear my dogs? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
They're having at it.
Okay,
Uh,
now we're down to 1 minute.
oh,
So,
okay. Okay. Yes. All right. So we'll talk next week. We'll re-record if we need to. And we'll just keep it all going.
That sounds good.
Okay. All right, Martha. Thank you
Thanks.
so
That
much.
was great.
Oh,
Okay.
am I going to see you Wednesday on the meetup?
Oh yeah.
Did Chris,
Yeah. I think I know how to log in. I think my login is just Martha, but I need to confirm that
I'll
with
help you
somebody.
out with that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
See ya.
Right. And is that 7 Central?
7 Central.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I might need to just 7.
It's late. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I do a lot of light stuff, but
Okay. Have a good meeting. I'll see you later.
bye-bye.